And he is such an asshole. Oh my God. This man was such a walking red flag. Hey guys, what's up? It's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. I am here with my May wrap up. I read 20 books this month, so here they are. First up on my Kindle this month, I binged the Pocket series by Chloe Walsh. I am slowly making my way through her backlog, and this one was really fun. This was really different than her other series that I have read. It's definitely more romantic suspense. It is a 4-book series. It follows the same couple, and there's this big like mystery going throughout the entire plot of all 4 books that you're trying to figure out. But your setup is that you have Remy, I think, and she is your main character. And at the beginning of the story, she's kind of been shut out of the town. Her ex-boyfriend is really mean and rude to her because his twin brother was murdered. And Remy happened to be dating his twin brother when it happened. He blames her for it, but there's just so much more to the story. Like I said, there's so many crazy twists and turns. Remy had dated Sketch, our male MC, before she dated his twin brother. So like there's this whole, like I said, it's a lot, but it was really, really good. So like I said, this is the Pocket series. And I think the first one was Pocket Full of Blame, but they were all really super easy reads. I think they were all like 250-ish pages, but really fun, good time. Okay, then on a whim, I picked up The Summer We Fell by Elizabeth O'Rourke, and oh my God, I'm so glad I did. This is like honestly one of my favorite new 5-star books. I ordered the physical copy. It is on its way. Yay. But this is going to be a single POV. And obviously it's a summer story. You're going to have 2 timelines going. And our first timeline set in the past, we follow Juliet. And she lives with her boyfriend, Danny, and his parents, the pastor and his wife, because she didn't have the best home life. I think her stepbrother was trying to like assault her and things like that. And so she removed herself from that situation, moved in with Danny, and she just does whatever she can to help out around the house. She works a full-time job at the diner. And the thing that really like was very shown in this book was that there were expected gender roles for her to play. Like the pastor and Danny really expected that Juliet and the wife were going to do all of the cooking and cleaning. And I mean, it would really just talk about that, about how they would all get home from the day from the beach and Danny could just go off and do whatever he wanted, but Juliet was expected to get dinner prepped and everything like that. So that's basically how the story sets up. And one summer, Danny comes home from college. I think he's a year or 2 older than Juliet, and he brings home his new best friend, Luke. And Luke is very grumpy, very mysterious. You can tell he has a lot of the same like past problems that Juliet did, like not the greatest home life. And so he really understands Juliet in a way that Danny never will. And so he's really kind of rude to her the first part of the book because he doesn't like how she doesn't stand up for herself, how she doesn't go after what she wants. She's just doing what she can to please Danny and his family because they took her in. And so she feels like she's going to be stuck with these people the rest of her life. She's not even truly in love with Danny, but she knows because they took her in, this is kind of what her life has to be now. But I really loved it. And like I said, Luke was just, he wanted so much more for her, and so he really tried to push her. He also was very overprotective. There were several moments in this book where Juliet like really kind of went through some crap, and Danny wasn't there for her because he didn't want to get in trouble. Whereas Luke took care of it, and he made comments to Danny where he said, I was taking care of what you couldn't. So then our other timeline is going to be about a decade later. And Juliet and Luke return to this town to help Danny's mom start like a new foster home program or something like that. And you can tell that a lot happened that 10 years prior. And there's kind of this mystery going through the book of why certain characters are missing and stuff like that. But it was so good. It was so angsty. Perfect 5-star read, perfect summer book. I read Beyond the Thistles by Samantha Young. I was really excited for this one because it was a new release for the month of May. It's a bodyguard romance set in Scotland, and that just like checks all the boxes for me. But I have to say I was a little let down by this book. So this is going to be a story of a runaway, a single mom, and from what I remember, her baby daddy is just extremely abusive. And so she gets into this situation one night where she basically has to take her daughter and flee the country so he cannot find them. And then you flash forward, I think, a year and a half, and she is working as a housekeeper in this gorgeous, like, Scottish mansion hotel place that's only exclusive for famous people or something like that. And then our hero, he is a security guard that works on this property. So you get through a little bit of your book and then you realize that the heroine is being stalked and everything. So our hero basically is assigned to be her bodyguard. And there was parts I liked, but there were parts that honestly were a little bit cheesy for me. Like, I thought all of the romantic suspense with her baby daddy was a little cheesy. Like, there was some stuff that happened to her at the hotel with a really creepy guest, and I thought that stuff was, fine. It kept the book interesting. But the stuff with the ex, like, when he popped up, I don't know, I couldn't take it seriously. I don't know why. Anyway, I rated it 3 stars. It was just okay, but I think for me, like, when I read a bodyguard romance, I want more, and I'm gonna be honest, every single one I read, I'm disappointed. I think the only one that I've loved is Twisted Games, but yeah, if you know any bodyguard romances that are good, please drop them down below. I know QB Tyler has a new one coming out later this month, so I'm definitely gonna have to check that one out. And then next, I was super proud of myself because I actually managed to read a book off my physical TBR. So I picked up Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. I've actually been wanting to read this one for a while, so I'm surprised it took me so long because I really did enjoy it. I think I rated it a 4.5. It wasn't quite 5-star for me because I'm just very, very picky with those, but this was really, really good. So this story is going to be about 2 childhood best friends that were separated due to the fact that our male hero was kidnapped as a child, and he was kept underground for, I think, over 20 years. And one day he reemerges in the world. He managed to escape on his own, and he's back. And he moves back in with his stepbrother, who happens to live next door still to our heroine. And so he's just trying to get reacclimated into the world. And our heroine has always loved him. She's always had feelings for him. She's always dreamt of him, and she's so happy that he's back, and you can tell he wants a relationship with her, but she's putting up these walls because she never commits to relationships and she doesn't want to hurt him, and she just keeps talking about how he's going to find the perfect woman someday to take all his pain away. And it was just such a good, touching story. I will say I really did enjoy the mystery of this, of figuring out his whole story of why he was kidnapped, because when you find out why, like, it wasn't just a random, like, I'm taking this kid. Like, you find out there was a whole thing. But it was really, really good, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Then for Mother's Day weekend, I wanted to feel all the mom vibes, so I read Meet Me Halfway. This was really good. It gave me a lot of Wait For It by Mariana Zapata vibes, so if you enjoyed that book, I would pick this one up. Obviously, it's not going to be that Mariana Zapata level, but I really did enjoy this. This is quite a slow burn. It is a single POV, and it is going to be between 2 neighbors. So our female main character, she has just moved into one side of a duplex with her son, and on the other side of the duplex is our hero, and he is extremely grumpy. When he meets our heroine, I believe she's like talking on the porch with her friend, and they're being a little too loud, and he just is not for it, and he's really rude to her, and he basically takes a look at her, the fact that she's a mom, and basically assumes that she doesn't have a job to get up for in the morning, and she's just leeching off of society. So she's really, really taken back by that, and they just really form a really great friendship. He is very overprotective. He becomes very possessive, but I really, really did enjoy this story. It was very good. Then I read Misconduct by Penelope Douglas. I am almost done with my Penelope Douglas list. I just have Tristix Venom left, which I'm currently reading. But I really enjoyed this one. So this is one of Penelope's older books, and it's a little bit taboo as it is an age gap, and it is between a teacher and her student's father. And I really, really liked this because I believe he was running for senator. So he really had to keep a clean image, and he couldn't be seen, screwing his son's young hot teacher, and she, you know, wanted to be respected at her job. And so I really loved that. What I really loved about this book was the beginning and the setup, because they meet at a party and obviously they're very sexually attracted to each other, and then you're gonna have a little bit of a time jump of a few months, and then the school year starts and his son gets assigned to her class, and he is such an asshole to her about her teaching style and her teaching methods. Like, he doesn't agree with it. So he goes above her to the principal and he keeps trying to get her in trouble, saying, I don't agree with your teaching. And it just really added to the angst and everything. But I really did enjoy this story. I think I rated this one a 4.25. Then I read Sweet Dandelion by Macaulay Smoltzer. This was a special edition I got from Eternal Embers last month. And I don't have the other edition, and I was kind of in a taboo mood, so I decided to pick this up, and I really did enjoy this. So this is quite a slow burn, but I really liked that aspect, because most of the taboo romances that I read, they're not really slow burn. And so this one, I think it just made it more believable that they could develop a romance. But this book is going to follow Danny. Her name is Dandelion, but she goes by Danny. And she survived a school shooting the previous year of high school. Her mom happened to be a teacher at the school, and her mom lost her life saving other students. And so a year later, Danny finds herself moving to a new state in with her brother because both of her parents are gone. So she starts at a new school, and the school sets her up with a counselor the first day, just due to all the trauma she's gone through. And that counselor is Lachlan Taylor. I just really loved the friendship that they developed before they got together. It was very believable, but it turns out that they end up living in the same apartment complex building. So it was just super easy for them to develop a friendship. It started off with he would loan her books to read, and then when she needed a new one, she would just go up to his place and trade it for another. But I really enjoyed this story. I will say I appreciated the fact that there were repercussions. I feel like I've read several taboo where they don't get caught, they don't get in trouble, and I kind of want that. I want the drama. And so there was repercussions in this book, but like I said, I really did enjoy it. For a student-teacher taboo, it was very, very solid, and I rated this one a 4.5 star. Okay, and then on audio, I listened to Until I Get You by Claire Contreras. And this one was another one where I was super excited for it because it's labeled as a dark hockey romance, but I have to say it's not a dark romance at all. Like, yeah, like some of the stuff was dark with obviously attempted assault and rape and everything like that, but it really didn't have enough to make it a dark romance. But basically our story is very interesting, I will say. So our female main character, she is hiding something from her past. You don't know what it is. You're going to figure that out as the book goes along. But she has this stalker. You don't know who it is. And she just really keeps to herself. She wears baggy clothing because of this. And so she meets Lachlan, another Lachlan, at a party. And he's just very, very into her. And they do have a very I will say it felt very insta-love with how they fell for each other and everything. But once he declares his love for her publicly, something happens with the stalker, and she is forced to basically flee. She changes her name so that Lachlan can never find her. And then you have a time jump, and he is still looking for her, determined to get her back, take revenge on her because of her leaving. So it had there were parts of it I really enjoyed, but like I said, I think I was just disappointed because I wanted more. And I think, honestly, I probably would have DNF'd this if I had read it physically, because I tried reading it on my Kindle the first several chapters and I could not get into it. So I tried the audio. The audio made it really easy to fly through, but I think this was just a solid 3-star for me. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Lachlan was a hockey player. So if you like hockey romances, just add it. I don't know. Then I finally finished the Off Balance series with Twist and Execution. This is books 4 and 5 by Lucia Franco. And I really enjoyed this. So I read the first 3 in January, and I had to take quite a bit of a break because these books are a lot. It is a lot of drama. It is a lot of emotions. It's a lot of ride. And the cliffhanger that you get at the end of 3, I just needed a break. So I went back and I read 4 and 5 in just like a day and a half, and I really, really enjoyed the ending to this series. I'm definitely going to have to purchase the physicals, but if you don't know, this is another taboo. I read a lot of taboos this month. It's just kind of what I was feeling. But this is going to be between a gymnast and her Russian coach. There's quite an age gap here. I think it's like 14 or 15 years. He has a girlfriend, so you're going to have cheating trope in here, but it is a ride. Okay, then I read The Coppersmith Farmhouse by Devney Perry. This is the first book in her Jameson Valley series. This is gonna follow our female main character, and she's a nurse, and she has a young daughter, and they move to a new town from Washington State, and they move to Montana because this Coppersmith Farmhouse, it was left to her by a former patient. She took care of him, and he kind of adopted her as like a paternal daughter, like a surrogate daughter, and her daughter, like, he was grandpa to her, and he just meant a lot to her, so he left her this gorgeous farmhouse. Well, while he had been gone and sick and everything, he had a caretaker taking care of the property, and it happens to be our male MC, and so that's where our story starts, because there's a lot of banter. He doesn't think she deserves it because he thinks that she was like trying to manipulate him, being the nurse as a patient. So like I said, he really does not like her. He is the town sheriff, and he is such an asshole. Oh my God. This man was such a walking red flag. So I went on Goodreads when I started this book, and I saw how low the ratings were, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, do I finish this book? Like, do I even continue? Because everybody's comments were like, this male MC is not it. Like, walking red flags. But I have to say, I think it was the red flags that like kept me entertained. Like, don't get me wrong. I am not going to go out in the world and search for men like this. Never. No. But it was entertaining. It kept me going. It kept me wanting to turn the page. And that's what these books should be, right? So yeah, he was horrible. He was a walking red flag, but I'm giving it 3 stars for the pure entertainment factor alone of just how possessive he was. He would make demands and commands to her without asking. And it didn't come off in like the morally gray alpha douche like that we all love. It was just no, he was an ass. But like I said, I was entertained. I read Crash Course by Olivia Wilde. This is going to be another student-teacher relationship, but this one is a lot more fast-paced. It's a shorter of a book. I think it's like a little over 300 pages. But basically, our female main character, she doesn't have the best home life. She and her mom do not see eye to eye. Her mom drinks, does a lot of drugs, just doesn't take care of her or anything like that. And so I think at the beginning of the story, they got into a really bad fight. And so she like packs up her stuff and she's like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. And she's in such a hurry to leave that she forgot her purse and her wallet. So when she stops at the gas station to fill up her car, she doesn't have any money. Well, that is where our hero is, and he volunteers to pay for her gas and everything like that. And then she takes off. The roads are really wet, there's a storm, and she ends up crashing her car, and he ends up saving her. And then he disappears, and you have a time jump because she had to go through a little bit of rehabilitation and stuff like that. And then you flash forward to her senior year that she has to repeat because of being injured and everything. Her mom is no longer at home. She took off with a bad boyfriend and hasn't come back. And at the start of this new school year, our hero pops up, and he happens to be the new creative writing teacher. And what I really enjoyed about this story was our heroine, she didn't really have a lot of friends, and she had been hooking up with like the school popular golden boy who was a jerk to her, and she happens to befriend his girlfriend at the same time. So she's got a lot of conflict, like I don't want to keep screwing him because I want to be friends with her. He's also an asshole because he's like holding that over her head, and then obviously she is falling for this teacher at the same time. But I really did enjoy this story for what it was. Like I said, if you want a good, nice, quick taboo teacher, student, KU read, I enjoyed this one. I think I rated this one 4 stars as well. Then I read The Clover Chapel by Devney Perry. This is the second book in that series. I enjoyed this one as well. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first one because like I said, his being an alpha douche was just pure entertainment. But this one is going to follow our 2 main characters, and they basically fall in love one night. Crazy, right? I know. And so they get married in Vegas. They're both down there and they get married. And then the very next morning, he leaves and she never sees him again. And she actually spends all this time trying to find him. Like, she's hired a private investigator and everything, and just no one can track him down. And it's like 9 years later, she ends up moving to this town in Montana, and it happens to be where he lives. So I really liked the story. It had a really, really good setup. What was interesting about it was I didn't even catch these clues. So she happens to be, if you remember from the Lark Cove series, the first book, Logan, he had mentioned that he had a girlfriend who all of a sudden reunited with her long-lost husband. Well, that is this book. And so I was like, oh my gosh, how crazy. But yeah, so basically you get back to 9 years later. She's moved to town because she takes the new kindergarten teaching job, and he is the chief of the firehouse. And, you know, when she comes back to town, he really makes it a point to her, like, give me a chance. Let me fix this. You're my wife. I want to make you my wife. And he had a reason for leaving her that night, and he tries to explain that to her. But I did really enjoy the story. If you like a nice small town, it was cute. It was nice. I listened to it on audio, so it was a nice, quick, easy one. All right, and then I picked up Vile by Lulu Waters. Okay, I'm probably not going to shut up about this one for a while. I'm trying to find some rec videos that I can toss it in with, but this is a new dark bully romance, and it was really good. So this is going to follow our two main characters, Everly and Holden. And Everly, she doesn't have a lot of money compared to the rest of the characters in the series. And so, you know, her mom works really, really hard. Her mom expects a certain future for her. Everly has a boyfriend. He's the golden boy. And her mom just really is excited for her to marry him one day. And Holden happens to go to another school, and he is Everly's boyfriend's rival, and he really hates him. And he seeks out Everly for just the simple satisfaction of getting back at the boyfriend and everything that goes along with that. There is a lot more to this book. I will say, like, because it's a dark romance, because you have rich assholes and everything, you're gonna have these plots where kids are supposed to be married off to each other. There's marriage contracts. There are things that are expected of people. This does take place at a boarding school. Lots of twists and turns. I really enjoyed this. I'm like obsessed with this cover. This is another one that I've ordered. Hopefully it'll be here soon, but this was so good. So if you like bully romances, go ahead and add this one to your list. Okay, then on a whim, I picked up Twisted Emotions by Cora Riley. This is the second book in, I think, the Twisted Loyalties? Something, the Twisted Chronicles, something like that. Anyway, this is a Mafia series. I read the first book last year, and I really enjoyed it, and I just didn't pick it back up. But my friend Demi, she loves the second book. Like, it's one of her favorite Mafia stories, and she was rereading it, and so she convinced me, and I did enjoy it. So this one is going to be an arranged marriage, and what I liked about it is that our male main character, he couldn't, like, express or experience emotion. I think they call it like a sociopath or something. And our female main character, she was sexually assaulted when she was 13. And so she's spending really the entire book trying to overcome that so that she can be intimate with her new husband. And he was really great at, like, teaching her and showing her those things. And I will say, like, even though he couldn't show emotion, like, when he finds out what happened to her as a child, he fully, like, takes care of that problem, if you know what I mean. But I really did enjoy this story for a Mafia. It was a solid 4-star. And then I buddy read Luna in the Lie by Mariana Zapata. I also read this with Demi, so we were kind of just reading 2 books at once together. That was fun. But this was the last, like, upper tier Mariana Zapata book that I had left to read. And I know this one is, like, lower on people's rankings, so it's kind of why I was putting it off so much. And I have to say, I'm still kind of conflicted with my rating because there were parts that I really, really loved, but there were parts that really just dragged on and didn't need to be in here. But this is going to be a workplace romance. In typical Mariana Zapata fashion, it's going to be Grumpy Sunshine. Our hero, Lucas Ripley, he is beyond grumpy. And Luna is just sunshine, and she's had a lot of hard things in her life, and just hard crap just keeps happening to her, like one after the other. And Lucas is just always, or Rip, I'm sorry, he goes by Rip. He's just always there to, you know, like help her and everything like that. But I will say, like I said, there were just a lot in here that I felt like it didn't need to be in here. Like for example, there's this one part in here where they have to go to a funeral, and this funeral was like over 40 pages, and this whole chapter didn't even need to exist. And so, like I said, I'm very, very conflicted because there were parts that I absolutely loved. Like when you had the romance parts and where you're really realizing how much Rip likes Luna, it was just like all the feels, like kick your feet up in the air screaming. But then there were parts where I was just like, this does not need to be in here. So I think for now, I am going to rate this a 4. But I did still really enjoy it. If you like a slow burn, if you like a workplace, and you like Mariana Zapata, read this. I still am ranking this higher than other Mariana Zapata books that I have read, but it was still a nice solid one. And then last up, I finished with The Lucky Heart by Daphne Perry. This is the 3rd book in that Jameson Valley series, and this one is definitely the better one out of all of them. So this one is going to be a second chance romance between Felicity and Silas, and Felicity actually was dating Silas's best friend in high school when Silas had always had feelings for her. Just a lot of drama happens. Like, it's really talked about in the first 2 books about how the boyfriend Wes, he became a drug addict, and he actually ended up passing away in the first book. And so Silas spends this whole book thinking that Felicity is never over Wes, when in reality Felicity is over Wes, but she feels guilty because of the drugs. There's a lot to it. Silas is a rancher. He's a cowboy. Lucky Heart Ranch is his family's. I will say there was quite a bit of conflict in here with Silas's father because he did not like Felicity. He kept thinking Felicity was going to leave Silas, and so he just was not kind to her at all. But for a second chance cowboy romance, it was pretty solid, and I rated this one a 4-star. Okay, so that will do it for the 20 books that I read for the month of May. I am super excited for June. I've already started some really, really good reads that have me excited. But anyways, as always, don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!